Now, you may well notice that Parliament is back at the moment, which would mean that the Prime Minister, unless out of the country, should be in Parliament every day that it's there, right? Well, maybe not. You may well have noticed on Thursday of last week that the Prime Minister was not there. He was in Queensland, in North Queensland, where he was talking to people in Ingham after the floods that have taken place. Now, of course, it was just completely, just by luck, that the Prime Minister, who should be waking up on Thursday in Canberra, is waking up in Canberra on Thursday, but just happened to wake up in North Queensland on Thursday morning. And when you're up early, I mean, you know, other politicians, they go for a walk or they run around like Bill Shorten with the little sort of T-Rex arms and the man boobs. No. This Prime Minister, he, of course, knows that there's an election to be won, so he jumped in front of the cameras. Not one, but multiple breakfast television appearances that all happened on Thursday morning. But hang on, mate, don't you have Parliament to be going to on Thursday afternoon? No, of course not. Instead, we learnt what some of the priorities were of the Prime Minister while he was in Northern Australia, when he should have been in Canberra. And this does not mean that a Prime Minister should not go to a disaster area, but does anyone believe that the good people of Ingham needed the helpful touch of a Prime Minister during the sitting day, or whether he could go on the Friday? But of course, that'd mean one more day having to answer questions, and he wants to change every day into a look at me or a look at Dutton day. And the press completely fell for it. You see, the Prime Minister, when he was in Queensland, was not just there to shake the hands of the people who had been affected by the floods. In actual fact, we learn via the Courier Mail newspaper that we have the perfect confluence, the combination of the two things that we know worst about this Prime Minister, that he's upgrade Albo, loving to fly around in Toto One, and loves using other people's money to talk about how wonderful he is and how wonderful the election is. So guess what he decided to spend your money on when he should have been in Canberra, as you have just seen a little preview of. Anthony Albanese leaves flood-hit North Queensland for a Labor fundraiser. Oh, hang on, what? I thought he was there to hand out relief money. No, he was there with his mitt out to take donation money. The Prime Minister left flood-ravaged North Queensland to attend a Labor fundraising dinner in Brisbane, using the taxpayer-funded jet for a trip that lasted just 6 hours. Flight tracker data shows that Anthony Albanese left Townsville at 1 p.m, so he didn't even spend the whole day there. Instead, it was really so he could appear on breakfast television, get it out of the way before lunchtime, and then flew to Brisbane. He flew to Brisbane so he could go to the event at a Labor-aligned law firm. Guests were gathering at an intimate dinner with some claims that people were being charged between $5,000 and $10,000 a head. Again, he can raise money, but geez, isn't it convenient that it happens on a day when he decides to skip Parliament? The Courier Mail was told Mr Albanese had scheduled engagements in Brisbane on Thursday, a sitting day where question time was taking place, including launching Brisbane candidate, their campaign, at an event with 200 attendees. Now, what does it tell you? That the Prime Minister now thinks that question time is optional. Now, there are times where he simply can't be there because he's overseas, and we know how much this Prime Minister loves going overseas. But the idea of skipping a day in Parliament so he can pretend to care about the people who probably won't vote for him in North Queensland, but the real reason was so that he could get out of answering questions last Thursday, so he could do Labor Party campaign events and raise campaign cash on the Thursday night. He then flew to the Northern Territory where, during a brief visit, again, yes, more money was being handed out to try to hold on to the seat of Lingiari, which of course is in and around Alice Springs, or in Darwin and the seat of Solomon. 2 of those seats could very well be in play at the next election. But isn't it amazing that if any Prime Minister other than this one decided to skip the day in Parliament under the pretence of going to a natural disaster area, but in reality to do party political activities for the Labor Party, if it was a Liberal, they would still be screaming about it. Perfect example about the Canberra bubble and many of the people who police the Canberra bubble. It took the reporting of somebody 1,000 kilometres away in Brisbane to work it out, It had no information from the Prime Minister's office. Instead, independent flight tracking was able to work it all out. So if the Prime Minister had his way, you would never know. You would think that he was spending the entire day filling sandbags and holding little old ladies' hands. Instead, he buggers off at lunch, because the true purpose of getting out of Canberra was one less day of answering questions and filling the Labor Party coffers with money. Nothing to see here, of course. Nothing at all.